Nathan Reed stands near the edge of the wedding ballroom, like he's trying to take up as little space as possible. The lights are too warm, the music too polished, and everyone around him looks like they were born knowing how to belong in places like this. His daughter, Lily, sits at their table in her pale blue dress, swinging her feet on a chair and watching everything with wide, careful eyes. Nathan forces a smile every time someone glances his way, those quick looks that land on his suit, then flick to the empty seat beside him, then drift away with quiet judgment. Across the room, Rachel, his ex-wife, laughs in a circle of perfectly dressed friends, her new ring catching the light like it's meant to be seen. Brandon, the groom, moves like a man who has never questioned his position in any room. When Rachel finally approaches Nathan, her voice is sweet enough to sound civil but sharp enough to draw blood, and Lily hears it too. Nathan feels his dignity cracking, not because he cares what these people think, but because his daughter is watching him learn where the world thinks he belongs. He turns toward the garden doors, already deciding to leave, already accepting the humiliation as the price of being present for Lily. And then outside the glass, headlights sweep across the entrance slow, deliberate, followed by the quiet arrival of a black car that doesn't belong to any guest Nathan has seen tonight. 5 days earlier, Nathan's world looked nothing like this ballroom. It looked like a cramped kitchen table covered with Lily's homework, a half-empty cereal box, and a wedding invitation that felt heavier than paper should. He'd been standing at the sink washing a lunch container when he opened the envelope and saw the venue named the Grand View Hotel, the kind of place Rachel used to scroll past on her phone and say, half joking and half resentful, "Someday." Lily had leaned over his arm to peek at the gold lettering and asked, excited and innocent, if she could wear her blue flower dress. Nathan said yes before he could think, because Lily's happiness always made decisions for him. But when she went back to her coloring book, the truth settled in. Rachel didn't invite him to be kind. She invited him to be witnessed. She wanted him there as proof that she had moved up, upgraded, escaped while he stayed the same man with the same ordinary life. And Nathan could handle people judging him. He'd handled worse. What he couldn't handle was Lily watching it happen and learning the wrong lesson, that love is measured in money, that respect is something rich people hand out, and that her father was someone to feel sorry for. So he stared at the invitation until his chest tightened, then folded it carefully and put it on the counter, like it was a bill he didn't know how to pay. In the morning, he would go to work, do what he always did, be flawless, invisible, reliable, and he would try not to think about the wedding. But the more he tried not to, the more one question followed him around his apartment like a shadow. How do you walk into a room built for people like Brandon Hayes and still look like a father your daughter could be proud of? The next morning, Nathan Reed became what he'd trained himself to be: quiet perfection in motion. He arrived at the Ashford Group building before most of the lights were even on, let himself in with the same security badge that had never once made him feel like he belonged, and started building order out of other people's chaos. Victoria Ashford's day was already waiting for him. A schedule packed so tight it looked like a warning, calls from board members who treated time like a weapon, and a dozen small fires that only stayed small because Nathan handled them before anyone noticed smoke. He placed her coffee on the exact corner of her desk at exactly 8 black. No Sugar then stood silently while she scrolled through emails with the calm, sharp focus of someone who didn't waste emotion on anything that couldn't be measured. Victoria wasn't rude in obvious ways. She was worse than that. She was efficient, distant, and untouchable, like warmth was a distraction she couldn't afford. In 4 years, Nathan had learned her habits the way you learn weather patterns. The slightest tension in her jaw meant meeting went badly. The faster she typed, the more dangerous her mood. And the only thank you he ever got was her not correcting him. He'd accepted that. Boundaries were safer. But that wedding invitation sat in his mind all day like a stone in his shoe. And every time he looked at the framed photo of Lily on his desk, Lily grinning, with frosting on her nose, his stomach tightened. He wasn't asking Victoria for friendship. He wasn't asking for kindness. He was asking for a shield just long enough for his daughter to see her father stand tall in a room designed to shrink him. And by the time the office emptied and Nathan heard his own footsteps echo in the hallway, he realized something that scared him more than the wedding itself. If he didn't ask, he'd spend the whole night watching Lily watch him lose. Nathan waited until the building felt hollow, until the last assistants had gone home. The elevators ran quiet, and the city lights outside Victoria Ashford's office windows looked like a different world he wasn't invited into. He knocked twice and stepped inside before he could lose his nerve. Victoria was still at her desk, sleeves rolled, eyes scanning a report with a kind of concentration that made other people feel like background noise. She looked up slowly, not annoyed, just assessing, as if she was deciding whether his presence was a problem worth solving. Nathan stood in front of her with his hands clasped behind his back, the posture of a man who'd spent years being professional even when his heart was doing something messy. He told her about the wedding in plain words. No dramatics, his ex-wife, the new husband, the way Lily would be watching. He didn't beg, but his voice softened when he said his daughter's name, and Victoria's gaze flicked briefly, almost unwillingly, to the photo on his desk outside the office. Nathan swallowed and asked anyway, the sentence coming out like a controlled fracture. Would you consider being my date? Just for the wedding. So my daughter doesn't have to see me standing alone. For a moment, the room went still enough to hear the faint hum of the building. Victoria's face stayed unreadable, no sympathy, no cruelty, just that cold precision. Then she answered in a voice that didn't leave space for negotiation. No, one word. Flat, final. The kind of no that sounded like policy, not preference. Nathan nodded as if he'd expected it, because he had, and the only thing worse than rejection was hoping it would be different. He turned to leave, already gathering his dignity like a coat he couldn't afford to lose, until Victoria's voice stopped him at the door, quieter than before. When is the wedding? Nathan froze, half-turned, unsure if he'd misheard. He gave the date and the venue. Victoria nodded once, picked up her pen again like the conversation was already filed away, and dismissed him with professional calm. But as Nathan walked out into the empty hallway, one thought followed him like footsteps. She said no, so why did she need to know exactly where and when? Saturday evening arrives with perfect weather that feels almost insulting, as if the world is celebrating while Nathan is bracing for impact. He hires a car service he can't really justify, because he refuses to pull up to Rachel's luxury wedding in his dented sedan and hand the crowd another reason to measure him. Lily sits beside him in the back seat, smoothing her dress and asking if she looks fancy enough. And Nathan tells her the truth. She looks beautiful, while his stomach tightens with every block closer to the Grand View Hotel. The lobby hits him like a different planet. Marble floors that shine like mirrors, chandeliers that turn light into money, and guests who move with casual confidence as if this kind of night is normal. At the check-in table, a smiling attendant hands him a seating card and directs him to table 14, near the back, partially blocked by a pillar, close enough to be present, far enough to be forgettable. Nathan helps Lily into her chair, pours her water like he can pour calm into the glass, and watches the room fill with Brandon's people. Investors, executives, polished laughter, and conversations that stop for half a second when someone notices Nathan alone. During the ceremony, Lily whispers, "Daddy, why does Mommy look so happy?" And Nathan answers carefully about new chapters, even though it feels like his own chapter is being used as a footnote. The reception begins, champagne trays, expensive music, effortless wealth, and Nathan tries to stay invisible until Rachel finally drifts toward him like she's been waiting for the right audience. Her smile is perfect, her tone sweet, and her words quietly sharp. "Nathan, you came. I thought you'd bring someone." Before he can respond, Brandon arrives at her side, arm around her waist like a public signature. He shakes Nathan's hand with just a little too much force and says with friendly cruelty, "Rachel deserves all this, you know. She spent too many years settling for less." Nathan feels the sentence land in front of Lily like broken glass, because Lily is right there, listening, learning, and in that moment, he realizes this night isn't just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. Not for him, for the story his daughter might start believing about her father. And while he's still swallowing the insult, he hears the first real whisper behind him. "That's the ex-husband?" And he knows the humiliation is only starting. The cruelty doesn't come as shouting or open insults. It comes as 100 small cuts dressed up as politeness. People ask Nathan what he does for a living with smiles that tighten when he answers, "Executive Secretary," and then they nod like they just filed him into a category that sits below their interest. A drunk friend of Brandon's claps him on the shoulder too hard and laughs, loud enough for nearby tables to hear, about knowing your place, as if Nathan's entire life is a joke that needs a punchline. Nathan keeps his face steady for Lily's sake, but he can feel the pressure building behind his ribs, the kind that makes breathing feel like work. Then Lily looks up at him with chocolate on her fingers and asks, quietly but clearly, "Daddy, why do people look at you like they feel sorry for you?" That question hits harder than anything Brandon said, because Lily isn't asking about money or status. She's asking why her father is being treated like he's less. Nathan kneels, tries to reassure her with soft words, but he can't escape the truth. She sees it. She's absorbing it. And when he realizes he can't protect her from what this room is teaching her, something inside him finally gives. He tells Lily he'll be right back, steps out through the garden doors, and walks until the music becomes muffled and the air feels cold enough to think. He sits on a bench hidden behind hedges, head bowed, hand shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the exhaustion of always being a man who stays quiet so other people can stay comfortable. He decides to leave. to take Lily home before she learns the wrong lesson. He stands up, ready to walk back inside and collect his daughter, like a man gathering the last pieces of his dignity. And that's when the sound of tires on gravel turns his head. A sleek black sedan glides to the entrance like it belongs to a different tier of reality. A driver steps out, opens a rear door, and a woman in a simple black evening dress steps into light with calm, unmistakable authority. Nathan's breath catches as her eyes scan the garden and lock onto him. Victoria Ashford starts walking toward him, steady and intentional, as if she's arrived to do one thing, and she's not leaving until it's done. Victoria stops a few feet from Nathan. Her expression is controlled as it always is, no panic, no sympathy performance, just that sharp calm that makes rooms adjust themselves around her. For a moment, neither of them speaks, and Nathan realizes he's still holding his breath like a man caught doing something wrong. Finally, he manages, "You came." Victoria's eyes hold his, steady and unreadable, and then she says it in a tone that's almost clinical, precise, honest. "I said no to pretending to be your girlfriend." Nathan's stomach drops, because even now he's bracing for the second rejection. But she continues without cruelty, without drama. "I didn't say no to showing up." She extends her hand, palm up, waiting like she's offering him something simple. Not rescue, not romance support. Nathan looks at her hand like it might vanish, then takes it. And the moment he does, his shoulders settle a fraction. They walk back toward the ballroom together, side by side, and Nathan feels a difference immediately, not because Victoria is powerful, but because she's present and she's not afraid of the room. When they step through the doors, the temperature changes. Conversations stutter and stop. Heads turn. People who were laughing a second ago straighten like they've been corrected by gravity. A man near the bar squints, recognition spreading across his face, and the name travels in a low ripple. Victoria Ashford. Rachel's smile falters mid-laugh as she sees them, and Brandon's confident posture tightens into calculation. Nathan doesn't gloat, he doesn't even speak. He just keeps walking, holding his CEO's hand like a steady line in a storm. Lily spots him from table 14 and runs toward him. Relief on her face, like she's been carrying a worry she couldn't name. She stops in front of Victoria and looks up, curious and fearless. "Who are you?" Lily asks. Nathan starts to answer, but Victoria does something that shocks him more than her arrival. She kneels to Lily's height, eye to eye, the same way Nathan always does, as if a child deserves the same respect as a board member. "Hello, Lily." Victoria says gently, "Your dad talks about you. He's very proud of you." Lily's face brightens, and Nathan feels something inside him unclench, not because Rachel's embarrassed, not because Brandon is quiet, but because Lily is finally seeing her father the way Nathan needs her to see him, as someone worth standing beside. They don't stay long after that, because Victoria doesn't come to win the wedding, she comes to end the humiliation, and then remove Nathan and Lily from a room before it can find a new way to cut him down. Nathan gathers Lily's little jacket from the chair, thanks to few people who suddenly want to talk to him now, and walks out with his daughter on one side and Victoria on the other. Outside, the night air is cold and clean, and the black sedan waiting at the curb feels unreal, like a scene Lily will remember for the rest of her life. Lily falls asleep within minutes of the car pulling away, her head tipping onto Nathan's shoulder, her face relaxed in a way it hadn't been all evening. Nathan finally whispers, "Thank you," because it's the only sentence he can trust not to crack. Victoria looks out the window for a moment before answering, her voice controlled but not cold. "You didn't ask for a favor," she says. "You asked for someone to stand beside you. That's not the same thing." When the car stops at Nathan's modest apartment building, she doesn't come inside, doesn't linger, doesn't make the moment about herself. She simply watches him carry Lily up the stairs like a father who made it through something hard. The next morning at work, the office looks the same. Glass walls, sharp schedules, people moving fast. But Nathan feels different inside it. He's not smaller. He's not hiding. And when Victoria passes his desk, she pauses, just 1 second longer than usual, and says quietly, "How's Lily feeling this morning?" It's a small question, almost nothing. But to Nathan it lands like proof that last night wasn't a dream. Then Victoria adds, in the same calm tone she uses for board decisions, "Also, your compensation and hours. We're adjusting them. Effective immediately." Nathan blinks, stunned, as if she just rewrote a rule he thought couldn't be changed. And in that moment, he understands the real redemption isn't her showing up in a dress. It's her deciding to lead differently, to stop rewarding silence and start respecting the people who keep everything running. That Rachel's message arrives that afternoon, clean and casual on the surface, desperate underneath. "Who was that woman with you?" Nathan stares at the screen for a long moment, not because he's afraid to answer, but because he finally understands what Rachel is really asking. She isn't asking for a name. She's asking for a new explanation. Something that makes last night fit back into the story where she is the winner and Nathan is the man left behind. He types a simple reply. My boss, her name is Victoria. Nothing more. No bragging, no revenge, no long paragraph. Just truth, delivered without emotion. Rachel doesn't respond. Brandon, on the other hand, suddenly becomes polite in a way Nathan recognizes as respect that comes from fear, not character, because power only notices you want to believe you're connected to something bigger than yourself. But Nathan doesn't care about Brandon anymore. The real ending happens at home, in the quiet that follows big nights. Lily sits at the kitchen table with her hot chocolate, looking thoughtful in that serious way she gets when she's trying to build meaning out of confusing adult behavior. Daddy, she asks, why was Mommy mean to you? Nathan doesn't insult Rachel. He doesn't poison Lily with adult bitterness. He takes a breath and tells the truth a child can hold. Sometimes people try to make themselves feel bigger by making someone else feel smaller. Lily frowns. That's not fair. No, Nathan agrees, but it happens. Then he adds a part that matters most, the part Lily will carry. When it happens, you don't have to fight them. You don't have to beg them either. You just stay who you are. You stand up straight. You remember your value. Lily watches him closely, and Nathan sees the moment she understands, really understands, that her father's worth isn't decided by a ballroom full of strangers. It's decided by what he does every day, showing up, working hard, and loving her without conditions. And when Lily smiles and says small but certain, I'm proud of you, Nathan feels the story finally close the way it was supposed to, not with revenge, but with dignity restored, a child protected, and a Colto learning that the strongest leadership sometimes looks like one simple act, walking into the room and standing beside someone who's been standing alone for too long.